I was listening to a podcast the other day with Rudyard from Whatifalthist. He said that everybody should look at the world through the lens of history, because that is the only way that one can understand the world. I agree with this to some extent, but real history is mostly useless. What matters is perceived history. Perceived history is what moves markets across the globe. Perceived history plays a role in geoeconomics and geopolitics. How one country perceives another country can cause a conflict. One of these countries might have been innocent, but it does not matter. The perception is there, and that perception has a high probability of causing some sort of conflict. Real history does not have this power. If you are trying to understand the world through real history, Rudyard seems to take this route, then you will not get very far. Looking at the world through the lens of real history is also problematic for Christians. Rudyard is a Christian. In the historical field, we have this thing called historiography. Historiography is the study of written history and historians. There is a saying that all roads lead to Rome. This is similar with historiography. Historiography leads back to ancient Greece. History as we know it in the West started as a literary genre. Herodotus and Thucydides are the founding fathers of Western history. Herodotus bases history off of Homer and the Greek gods. This does not pose a problem for me. I am an eclectic Norse and Hellenic pagan. But this would pose a problem for Christians, because many Christian ideals come from real Hellenic pagan history. One of the most well-known of these ideals is that the earth is 6,000 years old. Millions of Christians across the globe believe in this theory, but it is Hellenic pagan in nature. It is not Christian. The pagan roots for Western history might be problematic for some people, but the bigger issue is that real history starts with Herodotus and Thucydides. In other words, you have to believe that these two men were telling the truth when they wrote real history. You then have to believe that the people that came after them were also telling the truth, because these people were basing their history off of Thucydides and Herodotus. If there are any lies, then the core of real history shatters into pieces. Historiography at its core is historians saying the same things that previous historians have said in a slightly different way to avoid plagiarism. This is where your history comes from. New stuff in history is rather rare. Perceived history is what you should use to analyze the world, if you're going the history route, not real history. Most historians get their PhD in real history. They know what they are studying like it is the back of their hand, and will gloat about it. But what they are studying is probably false to some degree. You can maybe go back to World War I history with some certainty, but anything older than that is really perceived history at this point. History is always going to be problematic, because we will never know the truth. We can make educated guesses on historical matters, but that is all we can do. It is currently 2024. Dragons might have existed 10,000 years ago, and went extinct 5,000 years ago. Nobody in 2024 will ever be able to prove or deny this. At the end of the day, we know next to nothing about real history. People have a hard time remembering what happened 2 days ago, let alone 1,000 years ago. I have always believed that the farther back you go in time, then the closer you get to the truth. Looking at the world through a historical lens is valid, but I think political science is a better way to look at the modern world. The modern world started with the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. It literally started with politics. So politics should be used to analyze it. However, that is just my opinion. You can do whatever you want.